how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. Today we have the human sunbeam himself, Ethan Van Sciver. Thank you for coming.
Well, it's my pleasure. I'm happy to be here. Happy to join you, John.
Okay. First, I wanted to talk to you a bit about you. You are the nominal head of Comicsgate, and I always try to treat every video, everything I make as somebody's first video. So, what is Comicsgate for those of us who don't know, who may be watching?
Well, Comicsgate means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but what it means to me is it's a movement of fans, customers, and creators who feel disenfranchised by and are opposed to the rampant left-wing activism in the comic book industry, and have decided to protest it and also strike out on our own and make our own comic books using crowdfunding and using the internet to promote ourselves. It's a fun club. It's made up of all kinds of different people of all sorts of denominations. Not that we feature that or care. You're welcome to join if you feel the same way that we do. And we're having a good time. I think we've really set the indie comics movement ablaze with excitement.
Yeah, I got to say, it's a story I tell a lot on my channel. In 2015, I just got fed up with Marvel and DC and the mainstream in general, and I just quit cold turkey. I was one of those whales that was spending $400 a month on comic books, and
they can't afford to lose you. I mean, it's a shame.
You know, my wife was helping me carry this huge parcel up the stairs, and she was practically crying, and comics were falling out of the box. And I was living in a 3-story walk up in Queens, and I put the comics down, and I'm like, I don't even like these. I just busted my chop, and it was really like an existential crisis. What do I do? I've been collecting comic books since I was a little kid, and I heard about Comicsgate. I just happened to catch my boy Zach at the beginning of all of his videos, and I started sending him stuff. I was Marvel's electrician at the time, believe it or not, and and I got all excited I heard about you. And matter of fact, now I'm getting excited. The first time I always knew about you. I remember I actually talked to you years ago about the Way of the Gun, the Catwoman comic.
Oh yeah.
And then
Trail of the Gun. Catwoman, Trail of the Gun. Annie Nocenti wrote that. Yeah.
Right.
I drew it.
I remember saying, how come you got gun facts wrong?
I didn't. It was
yeah, I know. I should have realized you weren't right. I was stupid then. I'm still stupid now.
The whole book was about heat-seeking bullets, which are like, that's not a good idea.
I remember you were funny. And then I saw that somebody had argued with you, a mainstream guy who I can't remember, and you responded with, you were doing so well until you quoted the Colbert Report. I said, this is a guy I'm kind of interested in. I'm like, because it was unbelievable that there was a non-left-wing guy in comic books, and so I said, I want to follow this guy. And I remember getting excited. And then you started talking about comics. I heard about your boy Zach, and now I'm more excited about comic books than I've ever been. And I don't buy the comics that I've been buying my whole life. It's exciting. It's fun.
Yeah, we're having a good time. I mean, by the way, I stopped reading Marvel and DC comics, but I've started again so that I can make reviews, and they're awful. They're it's a chore. Like I feel for you bringing home crates and crates of like new comics and, for enjoyment, and then trying to squeeze any kind of enjoyment out of them because they're painful. The ones that I'm reading are anyway.
Yeah, I really liked your North Guard. I get so mad. I get so mad because I'm probably the only person on the planet that still gets Savage Dragon. I have from issue 1 to current, and I go to say something to Eric Larson on Twitter and I'm blocked.
Wow,
what's going on? I love this comic, by the way. New York versus New Jersey accents. Yeah. It's I don't know. I also I'm getting excited. Forgive me, Ethan. I also was laughing at the comics broke me hashtag. I forget if it was you or it was Cecil who Cecil. I take inspiration from that guy from the way he went to like a chubby guy to like a
no, but don't listen. Don't let him fool you. Cecil was always built like that until he was like getting divorced and everything. And he started to eat muffins and stuff. So then he got kind of ballooned. He kind of got fat. But really, here's the thing. There are certain people who are always meant to be like that. you know, and they can appear to be fat, but they're really just stocky and there's fat on top of muscle. As soon as he got back in the gym, he just snapped right back into shape again. So don't be fooled. He's not an example for fellows like me. Maybe not you either. I mean, you know, he don't look fat to me, but whatever. Cecil's an anomaly.
Yeah, well, I private messaged him, and he was very gracious and nice too. I got to say, everybody in Comicsgate has been gracious and nice to I'm a nobody, and I said I'm going to start a channel, and I'm going to reach out, and I'm just going to talk to people. Everybody's nice. Mm-hmm. My point being is I'm not pre-blocked. You know, you don't call me names before. You know, it's so wonderful. I like this comment over here. I too would think about 100 a week at Marvel. Here's money for some great comics like Cyber Frog or God. Already beat you to it. I got Cyber Frog right over here on my spinner rack. I'll show you. I got my.
You got a cool spinner rack?
Yeah, I had nice. Yeah, you can see Cyber Frog right there, third down.
Oh, that's Rack Planet. That's the new one.
Yep,
cool.
Yep. You know, I'm a fan. I went and I bought all your old Cyber Frog comics too. You know, I tracked them down. And it's more fun finding all this old stuff. You know, and I'm enjoying it more. Yeah, I read a current comic about 6 months ago after I felt like the joy in life had sucked. Yes. I remember. You'll probably get a kick out of this, Ethan. I was the electrician over at Marvel, and they were having a group meeting, all the editors, and the power kept going out. So here I am. They're having a meeting. They're sitting in a circle. I set up a ladder right in the middle, and I go up and I'm moving the drop ceiling, and I'm splicing wires because one of the outlets keeps blowing. The circuit keeps blowing. So
were you one of Zach's moles? Were you feeding him?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. And they're talking about an event, and I don't for the life of me don't remember if this event ever came out because I quit Marvel. But these are the editors, and they're talking about Marvel history, and it was wrong. They had the characters wrong. They had the secret identities wrong. They were referring to wrong and I wanted to get off the ladder and be like, how are you the group editor when it was this? But I was just like, I've been paid now. My boss isn't going to like this. I never bit my tongue so hard and shut up.
That's funny.
Thank you, Mark. Amazing. Yeah, all true. I used to show my Marvel pass, you know, to get in. And it was miserable. The floor was the carpet was musty and dirty. It smelled. The lights were flickering because I think they were going to change buildings. It was just nasty.
I remember that. Like Marvel Comics. First of all, DC Comics building, both of the buildings that I visited were beautiful. They were immaculately kept. But Marvel's really was like a smelly basement.
Right. It was. It smelled like your buddy's basement who that never turns the dehumidifier on.
Yeah. I don't know why it was like that, but it was a lot of people who were miserable. The floors were dirty, and like there would be artwork that was meant to be hung up on the walls, but it was on the leaned up against the wall.
And they had cubicles like they were meant for one person, but 6 people were huddled in. And everybody was talking. And I remember, why can't I remember the name of the? But I had to ask one of the gentlemen, and it's going to drive me nuts. I'll remember as soon as we get off, to move his desk so I could put the ladder up because we were pulling wire over. And I just said, you know, I can't believe this is Marvel. I've been wanting to come here my whole life. And the guy goes, it's not what it used to be. One of the editors.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like everybody there was afraid of being fired. I remember that. Like there's just a sense of just defeatism and kind of depression and backstabbing. That was interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I just got a Goken 2 yesterday in the mail. You know, it's just such a fun time. Oh yeah. So I don't know. I'm just happy. I was saying before, and I lost my train of thought because I'm excited. I was following the Comics Broke Me hashtag, and I forget if it was you or Cecil that brought up all the mainstream people are blaming each other. You know, like Comics Broke Me, I got a bad page rate. And then the editors are like, Comics Broke Me, I had to pay somebody bad. And all the Comicsgate guys are like, Comics broke me out of poverty, you know, out of isolation. Now I'm a creator. I just have to laugh that all the bad people were positive about comics, and all the good mainstream people were miserable.
Right. I mean, listen, they made the industry the way it is. It isn't fun. It's kind of, it's scary. People are I think, afraid to step out of line, or they're going to get dogpiled and mobbed.
Yeah.
It's a shame. It's a real shame.
Now, do you think things are changing I mean, I'm seeing regular news articles now about talking about how wokeness is bad for business and stuff. I've never seen that in the past 5 years.
Well, what would cause it to change? I mean, the same people are still there and they're still in charge. The same talent is still working there, and for the most part, I don't see why it would change unless the whole thing was kind of swept clean. Everybody was fired and we
Yeah,
started over again. So I don't have too much optimism
yeah,
for comic books changing. I just don't see how that would happen. I think it's been hopelessly corrupted. And it's too bad. It might take a generation. If it's going to change, it's going to take a generation
yeah.
to make that
Well,
happen.
I know comic book collectors are obsessive compulsive. We beg and board our comics, we put them in order. And I tell you, man, I can't get back to Marvel or DC. If they righted the course right now, I don't know if I would go back, because I would. All my comic runs are broken, and I'll have to go and get 5 years of comics or 8 years of comics that I just can't stand.
That you wouldn't enjoy anyway.
Yeah, I wouldn't enjoy, and I would have to read them because I got to read every comic book I buy.
Yes.
My boy Zach said that it takes 2 weeks to break a habit. And he's absolutely right. I'm done. And I'm not joking, Ethan. I got every Marvel comic from Fantastic Four 1 pretty much.
Wow.
I'm a lunatic. I don't know if you've ever seen, but behind this wall over here, I got a room full of 50,000 comics.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, I'm an insane person. I just keep telling my wife when I have my heart attack, please don't just get rid of my comic books.
I always say that too. I'm like, make sure you get what these comics are worth,
yes,
sweetheart.
Oh, my wife knows. She knows. Her and her
Yeah.
boyfriend are going to take a trip around the world.
Oh, great.
So I wanted to ask you like some storytelling tips. I read the other day that Will Eisner said in a comic panel. Because you're, I think, a phenomenal comic book storyteller. I really enjoy your work, and I know that you were saying that you're practicing your writing skills.
Mhm.
Will Eisner said that in every comic book panel, you're supposed to have like an act, like a question and a reaction, and that's it. And I noticed whenever I look at Modern Marvel, it's a diatribe of 6,000 word balloons. Do you follow that? Do you think? I mean, do you know what I'm saying? Like, hi, Ethan, what's new? And then Ethan replies, everything's great, John. And then if you were going to say something else, that would have to be another panel.
Wow, that's a writing thing. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I never really thought of it that way. I think comics have their own rhythm that you are supposed to absorb through years of reading them. I think it's kind of like instinctive. I'm somebody who has spent most of my time drawing them, and so I've always thought of a comic book panel as having layers of information in it, which is why I like to draw detail and I like to do a lot of background work, because there's what the panel is mostly saying to you. Like there's the main action, and then there's like a subtext behind it. Like there's a secondary and maybe a tertiary action as well, or bit of information that you could pick up by looking closer at it that gives context to the scene. So that's how I've always thought about drawing comics. When it comes to writing them, question response has never occurred to me, but man, I should read some more Will Eisner books about how to do
You
comics.
can't go wrong reading Will Eisner, right?
Yeah, like the guy I got to meet him. I was fortunate enough to meet him in the 1990s. A lot of people did. I missed my chance to meet Jack Kirby.
Oh, you never got to meet Jack?
No, I started comics the year that he died. So really I wasn't close enough to the professionals at that point to get to rub shoulders with him. Got to hang out with Stan Lee many times, many times.
How was he?
Tired. Like I think I got to see the really sweet fake Stan Lee once, the first time I met him, and he was very nice to me. This was in like Toronto, and I got introduced to him, and somebody said, "This is the guy who's drawing Green Lantern right now." And Stan was like, "Oh, Green Lantern! I love the Green Lantern. Hal Jordan, right? Yeah, I remember that." And gave me a big hug and took a picture with me and everything, and that was like Stan Lee being Stan Lee.
Yeah,
and then I got to meet him a lot of times towards the end of his life when he was working and tired and angry and kind of like being shuttled around to conventions to meet fans and sign books, which he didn't want to do. And it was clear that he felt that he was being exploited, but he wasn't strong enough to say no. And so I got to see an angry version of Stan Lee, and great moment, which still makes me laugh. Stan Lee talking to me, they're putting books in front of him to sign, and he just kind of says, he's like, another stack of books. And I'm sitting over here. I'm waiting for some. I can't remember why I'm in the same room with him, but I'm like, oh, Stan, these are your fans. They're like, no, he goes, this is just going to end up on eBay. I don't know why I'm doing this. And I go, are you kidding me, Stan? These are not going to be on eBay. These are your fans. He said, these are going to be priceless heirlooms. The people who are paying for this are your real fans. And he's like, my fans. Line them up and give me a Tommy gun. It's so funny. I still and he said it in his great voice, but he was clearly
in that
just
voice
very
that everybody
angry.
knows.
My
older brother's a big motorcycle guy. He doesn't read comic books. And when he saw Stan Lee at a convention, because George Romero was there, my brother's into the zombie movies. And George Romero was there, so he went with me to the convention. And Stan Lee came out, and he was like, "Oh my God, Stan Lee!" The guy was a celebrity. The guy was, and I feel like there's nobody like that in comic books. Like when Stan Lee died, who's taking the torch? You're the closest.
No way.
Todd McFarlane you're the preacher of comic books. You know what I mean? You're the public face of at least one group of comic books. Like C.B. Cebulski's sitting in Stan's seat. And nobody knows what this guy looks like. Why isn't he on talk shows? Why isn't he, he should be out in front of Marvel building with that like inflatable guy thing, buy comics, everybody.
I don't know if he should. I don't know if that's for everybody. Stan Lee was a unique guy because he had the spirit of a huckster. He was a genius. He was he was a kind man. He had this enthusiasm that it was just, there are very few people, 1 in a million people like Stan Lee, maybe even fewer, 1 in a billion. I mean, people who are able to just enthuse and get you excited and also sell. I mean, just be like, you got true believers. You're not going to believe the next issue of the Incredible Hulk. Like it's going to rock your socks. Old J Jaws comes out. J Jaws versus, Rhino,
Kirby, and Stan the Man Lee, and
fight of the century. I mean, like the guy was one of a kind, and I mean we can emulate him, and I think a lot of people try to emulate him. There are very few people like him. I do believe Todd McFarlane has his soul.
Okay, yes, you're right. Todd McFarlane.
He's able to enthuse about his work and really get you excited, and you can tell that he's having a good time. But when I think about other people like who were in a similar position status-wise, somebody say Jim Lee. Jim Lee's nothing like him. I mean, Jim Lee can't do that.
I don't even know what his voice sounds like.
Yeah, he's a very timid, quiet guy who smiles a lot, and he's extremely talented. But he's not somebody who's advocating for DC Comics in any real way that creates enthusiasm. And I think Dan DiDio was close to that. Dan DiDio was able to advocate for DC and promote DC Comics in a way that was fun and funny and created enthusiasm. I don't know if he reached the levels of Stan Lee because Dan himself wasn't particularly talented. He's a good writer, but he wasn't. He was no Stan Lee. It's hard. Losing Stan Lee really does feel like the industry had its heart ripped out. I agree with that.
Yeah, I feel like Stan died, and like you said, he was surrounded by handlers that and then Marvel staffers were accusing him of horrible things I don't even want to repeat. And now that he's gone, they're just like, we've always loved Stan. I'm
not going to let these people forget what they did. I was angry the last 2 years of his life, the way they were mistreating him. And it's like, can you let the man rest? Like, he gave us all of this.
Without him, you wouldn't have jobs, people.
You wouldn't have anything. Marvel Comics wouldn't exist. I don't think DC Comics would exist the way it is now. This guy is a genius. He's given us a lot. We see him. We profess to see him as kind of like the granddad of comics and everything. We all have respect for him, supposedly. And they were doing the most heinous and evil things to make the last years of his life miserable.
Yeah, they were trying to cancel Stan Lee. The guy's 99 years old.
He was grabbing his nurse's tuchus like as she was walking by. They stole his blood. Some fake doctors came and stole his blood.
Yeah,
and mixed it in with ink so that they could sell a special edition Black Panther comic book with Stan Lee's blood ink signature. out like vampires, literal vampires. These people, what they were doing to this man, and taking him around and making him sign. The last year or two of his life on my channel, I was saying, listen to me. Like, if you, anyone within the sound of my voice, if you see that Stan Lee is coming somewhere to sign, he doesn't need your money. Somebody else is getting the money that you're giving him to sign, and do not go and ask him for his signature. Do not buy his. He doesn't want to be there. He's being exploited. He personally doesn't need the money. It's somebody else that's hurting him, and you should not be creating demand for this guy to do anything other than lay on the beach, which is what he should be doing. He should be on a chair, Bermuda shorts, having a drink.
A famous picture of him in his wheelchair with the fans, and Stan he looked like Grumpy Cat. You know, and when I saw that picture, I was like, "Oh my God, let the poor man be. Let the man.
Let him have 2 or 3 years of rest." And
I think once his wife died, he kind of died. You know.
Oh yeah, that was awful. Absolutely awful. I can't imagine that, living on past my wife. I can't. It's awful.
Yeah, yeah. I love that story of he just went up to this woman that was like almost getting married to another woman and said, "I want to marry." Like Stan was a, he was a boss back then. And on the other side, I feel that all of these people, the same people that we're talking about, are like using Jack Kirby as a weapon. Jack Kirby would be punching you. Jack Kirby would be beating you. Jack Kirby punched Nazis. He was out there fighting. And I'm like, Jack Kirby would be beating you up if he met you. Do you realize where he grew up in the 30s in Lower Manhattan? There were street gangs. He hated the communists. He even says that he made Darkseid and Apocalypse as like a representation of world under a communist dictatorship. And now you Antifa commies are going to say claim Jack Kirby as one of your own.
Well, beyond that, I really think it's a disgrace to his memory to use him as a cudgel against people who work in comics or who love comics that you disagree with politically. It's just evil. These people are evil and sick in a lot of ways. Jack Kirby, as far as I know, was a very kind guy. He wasn't punching anybody. Okay, he just wasn't. I mean, listen, he was 4 feet tall, Jewish guy choking on a cigar. He was not punching anybody. Okay. No. Now Steve Ditko, on the other hand, who else might be punching people? But no, not Jack Kirby. And it's a sickness. Again, these people only pretend, to know anything about comics or anything about these human beings. They don't offer them the kind of respect that they deserve. I think that's clear. And I really don't like that.
I like what you said earlier, that you instinctively know how to do a panel, and that comes from years of reading comics. Now, I was just about to say I don't know how many years, but you must have been reading comics as a kid, as a child. I've been reading comics. Comic books literally taught me how to read. I couldn't read before comic books, so I've always had comics, and I think that these people in Marvel Comics, they don't know the backstory, they don't know the history. That sometimes they get the powers wrong, and I'm witnessing these editors not get the history of the characters that they're the custodians of, and I'm like, this is what's wrong. So I feel like hiring to work at Marvel is the pinnacle of comic books, or it should be the gold standard, and there should be some sort of, I hate to say it, like gatekeeping. Like here's a questionnaire. You want to be an editor? Fill this out. You got only your memory.
I would say here's the question. Here's the only question. Like, first of all, are you personally marginalized? Are you a marginalized person? That would be the first question I would ask any of these people in the job interview. And if they said yes, I'd say get out of here. I'm not looking for victims. And by the way, everybody, I didn't know where you were going with
that. That was excellent.
Yeah, like if you're a marginalized person, that means you're somebody who is self-victimized. You see yourself as lower. I want somebody who says, hell no, I'm not marginalized. I'm amazing.
I'm not a victim. I'm a champion.
I'm at the top of the ladder. I'm here to conquer and make money and create things. And the other thing that I would say is there's such a thing as canon. Do you like the idea of canon, or is canon something to be disrupted in some way? And that answer would also determine whether or not I would let them work at DC or Marvel, because we don't own these characters. Okay, we are the custodians of these characters. When I was given Green Lantern to draw, when I was given Plastic Man for a short minute, When I was given Flash to work on, my attitude was, holy cow, I get to add on to this lineage of creative thought that goes all the way back to Gil Kane, Carmine Infantino. I get to actually add to these characters and make them improve the clarity of what these original creators were trying to say. It was never a matter of something about these characters is wrong, racist, sexist, bigoted, homophobic. There's something about it that's I don't like it. It's stupid. I'm going to make fun of it. None of that. Like, those people need to go. If you get a hold of Batman, if you get a hold of Green Lantern or Superman, go back and read the Golden Age stuff. Read some of the Silver Age stuff. Enjoy Wayne Boring. You know what I mean? Enjoy Kurt Swan. And go back and find out where these characters came from and what the intention was. Not what you want to project onto them, what the intention of the character is. And go and make it better. Go add to it. Make it last longer, because it only lasted as long as it did because the original idea was so good.
Yeah, so I agree with you. That's an eloquent speech. Thank you. That was excellent. I feel like one of the big problems is the disrespect to other runs. Now, like one writer, okay, Ethan Van Sciver, you're writing Green Lantern, you're drawing Green Lantern, it's your baby, and then I take over, and I'm like, yeah, screw what he said, and I'm going to change it and put my name on. I find that to be disrespectful and arrogant. You know what I mean? Like, comic books, it's supposed to be like a pastiche of past creators, like a melting pot and everything, and then, okay, I'm going to take over the X-Men. I don't care what Chris Claremont said. I don't care what now John Byrne did. This is my version of this character, and it's completely different. I find that to be ego. It's who are you? Magneto is going to last longer than me. Cyclops, Wolverine is going to last longer.
Well, listen. There are times when, like, what the previous creative team were doing just wasn't working, and it needs to. In every case, you need to go back. Like, I think that, like, when Grant Morrison took over the X-Men, he changed it from the way things were going. But what he was doing was going back to the original idea of, like, school uniforms. I mean, that's what they were wearing. They were wearing school. They weren't superhero costumes. They were all the same, essentially school uniforms. And then he just said, you know what they are now? They're a mutant rescue team. That makes sense, because they work for Xavier in this school where they're rescuing and training and teaching mutants.
Right. And the idea of children's soldiers is kind of icky, in retrospect.
They're not superheroes per se. I mean, I guess they could be considered that, but go back to the original comics and go read them and try to always, if the train's off the rails, you can always put the train back on the tracks by going back to the origin stuff. And just thinking and going, what did they mean? What was this? Like, for me, it was like, why are Green Lanterns called Green Lanterns? Like, where did that come from? What do you mean lantern? What does a lantern do? And what does a lantern do? It lights up dark areas, right? It's meant to bring light to darkness. What's dark? The corners of the dark corners of the universe are dark. That's why the Green Lanterns are lanterns. They're there to bring light and justice as a police force. Beacons. To these dark corners where evil hides and lurks. See, that makes sense. Now, once you know that, you go policemen bringing light to dark corners of the universe where evil lurks. You build from that. That's the original idea. Yeah, that's the concept behind it. And once you understand that, you can do great things that are in line with what the original creation was.
That is excellent. I feel like if you're making a Superman comic book or a movie and people are afraid of Superman, then you got Superman wrong. Like, Superman should be hope, awe inspiring. Superman lands, and even if it's his first appearance, you're going like the Christopher Reeve movie when he lifts up the helicopter. Everybody was clapping, and you felt good.
Love him.
The music swelled.
Yeah. Well, what is Superman? Superman is Moses and Jesus.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's where he came from. So he's here to rescue the people, and he's here also to bring hope. And there's something, I imagine that meeting Jesus would be, you'd see something in his eyes or whatever that you'd recognize it, and you'd be filled with, like, love for him because he's, God, he's the Son of God. and he's this tremendous charisma. And I think that's what Superman has too. Like as a kid, I recognized in Christopher Reeve that he was here. He's a superhero that's here to help me. If I were falling off of a building, he'd catch me and I'd be safe. That's the kind of thing that Superman should instill and inspire in the people who read about him. And I think that fell off too. I don't understand. I guess that's hard to do. That's hard to write.
I think DC has been like so disrespectful to Superman. You know, just part of me has to be cynical. I'm wondering if they're preparing for Superman to go into the public domain. So they made what's his name? John Kent is the new Superman.
Yeah.
So they could own him for another 30 years. Like I think that's I think whatever reason you want. I think that's the accountant's reason for Miles Morales. You know, let's you know, wasn't Ditko suing at the time? The family estate was suing for Spider-Man rights.
Right.
So I wonder if Marvel was like hedging their bets in case they lost.
Well, I mean, it's no coincidence that it's like, you know, they started really pushing Miles Morales forward. They started pushing Peter Parker backwards while they also launched something called The Death of Doctor Strange.
Right.
All of these things were happening at once, and that's because Steve Ditko, you know, those are his characters, Spider-Man and Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I forgot that they did The Death of Doctor, and they made what? Was it Brother Voodoo or Clea was the Sorcerer Supreme for a while? Yeah, I forgot about that. You're absolutely right. That just shows you I was just getting tired of comics at the time.
All of these decisions are financial. All of them.
Yes. I which always brings me back to Jack Kirby when he asked, "What do you do for a living?" He said, "I sell comics, not write comics, not true." And I think a lot of people kind of forget that, like, Dan Slott, you're supposed to be selling comics, and you're not selling comics when you tell me to go F myself when I say I didn't particularly like this little tiny thing. Because comic book fans, and I'm sure Dan Slott was just as bad as the other fans when he was a teenager. You know, Spider-Man doesn't do this, he does that. You know what I mean? And F you, what? You know, I'm sure Stan Lee probably wanted to say that to plenty of people, but you know, oh, we'll do better next time. You'll love the next ish when Wolverine attacks Spider-Man, and you know. Oh, okay, Stan. I'll buy the next dish.
Yeah, it's true. It is true. Like you have to remember that. Like, you know, even when they're grouchy, they're still the customers, and you know.
Yeah.
Stan would just be trying to sell them. You know, your boy Zach, Richard C. Meyer, used to just compare all of this to hot dog salesmen.
Right. Yeah,
and he would just say, you know, look, as long as your product is good, you want your product to be good, right? And there's some people who are making comics and thinking of themselves as hot dog salesmen, and those people should literally just be making hot dogs and not comic books, right? But for people who know how to make comics and the comics are good, you have to remember it's like they are the customers, and even if they didn't like this product, you got to come back and improve your product so that they will eventually just keep coming back. It's nothing personal. There's no reason for a hot dog salesman to say F you to a customer. There shouldn't be.
I didn't like the sauerkraut.
Right. F you. You're a jerk.
Well, Stan Lee, like how many things did he create that didn't sell? And he's just like, well, the next one will be fantastic. You know,
right.
You know, you can't just keep pushing Kamala Khan. How many failed series do you have? Come on, it's time to move. You tried. I don't blame you for trying. You know, Stan Lee tried so many bizarre little things that went nowhere. You know.
Yeah. Well, that's true. You know, we remember the successes.
Yeah, we remember the success. For every Black Wolf, you know, that failed, that Stan tried to create, or what was the other, Ravage? You know, there was a Fantastic Four. Yeah,
I love the Fantastic Four.
Oh yeah, you never got a chance to draw the Fantastic Four, did you?
I never did. I was at Marvel, and I got inducted in through the X office. So I got to do 4 issues of New X-Men, which were a pleasure. I mean, that was very difficult to do those books, but it was fun. I got to do an issue of Wolverine, which is terrible. And I got to do an issue of Wild Child, which is also terrible.
That was like the daughter of Wolverine in the M2 line or something like that?
No, Wild Child was Sabretooth's little partner.
Oh, okay.
He was a guy.
I'm thinking of Wild Thing.
Yeah, Wild Thing was the girl. Wild Child. I didn't know what that was.
Thing is my favorite superhero. Yes, John. I love Ben Grimm. The Thing. I identify with the orange rock monster. What does that say about me?
He's a New Yorker.
Yeah, he's the heart, the cornerstone of the Fantastic Four. He's the heart and soul of the Fantastic Four with this rough exterior and soft inside. I just love that. I love that.
I love him too.
So how was working with Grant Morrison?
It was hard because I didn't feel like I belonged there, and he did his best to make me feel welcome.
Oh, that's nice.
Once his whole thing was he was having trouble with Marvel because he was told that he was going to get to make all of these creative choices and also hiring choices. And I got hired to be his fill-in artist after he rejected Leinil Francis Yu and Tom Rainey. He said, I don't like these guys. And then they throw me at him, and he's like, I don't like this guy either. So what are you doing? He was already angry with Marvel, but I wrote to him and said, I didn't ask for this job. They gave me this job and told me that you said it was okay, so I'll leave. He wrote back and he said, listen, Scottish people can be, see you next Tuesdays. Yeah. He's like, I don't want to cause you trouble. He's like, we'll just try to make good comics, which I appreciated. I was a kid. I was 24, 25. So he started writing things for me, and I did my best to create what he asked for. But he writes as though he's narrating from an unconscious state, like he's having a dream and he's speaking. Yeah, like it's and the thing about it that was hard was you couldn't contact him and say, Grant, what does this mean? Like literally, what is it that you want me to draw here? And because he wouldn't take anyone's phone calls, not even his editors. He basically said, if you want to talk to me, talk to my girlfriend. And she might tell me, but by that time it's too late. Like wow. I would write and I'd say, hey, like what can I just ask Grant? Like, what does this mean? And then I'd hear something 6 days later. Well, the page was already done. So, I had to just, but he would write things like, he is an odd person and, a special genius.
Oh, I love Grant Morrison. He changed my life, literally.
So he'd say things like this. He
moved across the country.
Oh yeah. He would say like, he'd say, so there's a circle of mutant students and they're holding the earth and they're all working hard to hold the earth. And then suddenly a nerdy little kid with glasses walks in and they drop the earth and it shatters to a million pieces. And you go,
how do I draw that?
Yeah, you go like, so you read that, I go, I can picture that. I know exactly what you mean, but what do you mean the earth? Like, what are they holding? Is it a psychic projection or is it a physical, actually a thing that's there? Where is this happening? Indoors, outdoors? Like what? Who are the students? Like, and you would just have to invent that. Now, I started to draw that issue. That was issue number 134. And I started to draw it right when I got fired from Marvel. And so I drew about 6 or 7 pages and I drew it a certain way. And then somebody else came in and had to redraw it without having seen my work. And they drew it completely differently than I did.
From the same words.
Yeah. And I just want to see, this is the thing. Like, yeah, Grant's stuff, man, it would really help if like, you could ask him, but I think I got it right and the other guy didn't, but I'm sure, he would say the same thing.
Yeah.
And he just didn't make himself available. So it was a challenge. It was a real challenge. And I think he meant it to be.
Yeah. I'm a big fan. I really do like his work. I think he was a phenomenal, like he changed for good or for bad. He changed a lot of the writing in comic books, but he was an odd person. Praetor 7 asked if you participated in any of his magic ceremonies.
I know what he means, and the answer is no. Like
I know what he means too.
Yeah, I wouldn't have said yes to that. And I did see him, give a very strange speech to a group of Satanists. I watched that on YouTube. It was a DVD that came out. I was like, oh, this is the guy I'm working with. Let me listen to his lecture. And it was a bizarre speech about how you could use LSD. And he was hanging out with Satanists, giving the speech. And then he contacts aliens, not Satan, but aliens who would take you to the planet Venus.
Okay.
Not Venus, Saturn. You could sit on
Venus would be silly.
Yeah, no, like like Venus is doable somehow, but Saturn you need hallucinogens for that. And it was a weird thing. And I I laughed at it. So I wasn't exactly on his magic train. Like I wasn't like, yeah, like this guy's a genius. I was, even though he is, I was more like this guy's also a little weird and on drugs.
I think that's part of genius is you're a little weird, you think
Yeah.
differently, and that
Well, that's part of being a comic book artist in general. And this is the thing, like, early on, I started to go, well, everyone here is nuts and hard to work with. They all present, every single person that I met in comics presented a unique challenge. There was something wrong with them that would be like, okay, how do I work with this person in spite of their social disabilities?
Do you think that has to do with like the solitary nature of the job of sitting home in
Yeah,
your
yeah.
basement?
Also, are you left brained or right brained when you're creative? Whatever that is makes you weird.
Yeah,
And there are very few people who work in comics who would fit in any other social situation, which is why they love conventions, because it's when a group of them that are all weirdos who
it's
have
celebrated,
social disabilities, right? They get to be celebrated and be among each other where they're understood.
right? It's
So
their sanctum sanctorum.
they love that. They absolutely love those conventions for
Yeah,
that
I'm,
reason.
I'm a construction worker, and the jobs change, so I'm constantly working with. So one of the skills you have to develop to keep getting paid is the ability to work with people.
Yes, yeah, that's
And
fine.
I'm going to be crude right over here, but at work I always joke that I'm the retard wrangler, and the biggest freak in any job is my partner. The guy nobody could get along with is my partner. And I always joke, does that mean I'm also a retard, or does that mean I'm the retard wrangler? And I get the biggest freak. And by the end of the job, he's patting me on the back, telling me, we should hang out. And it keeps me employed. I got to work with this guy that, lives by himself, goes home and just drinks a bottle of Jack Daniels at night.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't think I'm any different. I mean, I just think I would recognize in other people. I'd say, why are you like this? Like, what is, again, like the focus, the insane, intense focus on politics in comics. Like, to me, it was all about, I was excitable, and people would say, like, Ethan is like a little nutty because he really gets into this stuff. And Jeff Johns would say, he's manic. Ethan, he would describe me as manic, my personality, because once I got an idea and I'd had a few caffeine drinks, I would be on the phone with him like, listen to this. I just thought, Jeff, wait till you hear I just read your script and I just found this thing that I got to do. And so like a ton of energy would be coming from me. That's where I was excited. And you could get me excited about any superhero character. I'd be on the bus, ready to go, ready to make it good. Whereas when I would encounter my peers, I'd be like, I hear you're doing Metal Men. And they'd be like, I hear you voted for Mitt Romney. The fuck is the matter with you?
Yeah.
And that would be them. And I'd be like, why are we talking about that when we could be talking about Hawk
Out of
Girl?
all the things to talk about, you want to talk about politics? Don't you want to talk about
like,
superheroes? That's more fun.
Yeah, of course. And I would just kind of be put back by the fact that they'd look at me and they'd see me as chunked informed politics that they disagree with, rather than,
well, they created a monster in their head and then projected that monster onto you. It's easier.
Yeah.
It's easier than to get to know somebody. I'm the same way, because I'm in a union, and I kind of vote wrong, so I've been outcast too in a way.
It sucks. I didn't realize it was going to be like that. I honestly thought being a Republican was just the normal sort of thing to be.
Right.
And it
Every
is
other person,
just not in comics. It's like, the world of comics is filled with, communists. And so, what normal people at work, productive people who actually make the widgets that make the country run, those people are all Republicans. But when you're in creative industries, you are around socialists and communists and people who don't understand, dinner table issues, because they don't own dinner tables and can't afford to feed themselves. So, it's a whole different environment, a whole different social structure, which I found difficult to navigate. I'll be honest with you. I did it for a long time and then worked with these people with humor, but I can completely work with socialists and leftists because I did it for 20 years quite effectively. They can't work with me.
Yeah, well, that's just it, But they're the good people,
right? Sure.
Yeah, I say this at work all the time. I said, "You're yelling at me, and I'm the bad guy,"
Yeah.
But it's just exhausting. I don't know if it's good or for bad, but I just stopped, and I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. Let's hand me the screwdriver. We got work to do."
I know. I wanted to fix them. I'd say,
I know. I know.
Like,
I
I'd be
think I'm
like,
older than you and tireder.
no, I'm tired now. But I mean, at the time, I remember, like, during the election of 2016. So all of these rumors are going around. Everybody's worried about healthcare, Obamacare going away if Trump gets elected. The Republicans want to get rid of healthcare. And so Trump put forward at one point his healthcare plan. He was buying into their narratives and stuff. But when his healthcare plan came out, there was this flurry of news articles that was going around the left-wing media about how Trump's healthcare plan doesn't cover rape. And it made me so angry. They're all, he doesn't care about rape. He's pro-rape because his
about Sarah Palin, if you remember, it was like recycled attack.
It's so dumb. And I was like, first of all, like, rape isn't like it's the symptoms. It's what might happen to somebody if they are raped that the healthcare plan would cover. It's not the act. Rape is a crime,
right?
It's not a healthcare issue.
He's legalizing it.
Yeah, it's like right, like the idea that his plan is going to go, you know what, it's going to cover all of these other things, but rape, no. It's so stupid. And I would say to people, I would talk to my peers and be like,
that? Yeah,
are you like this? Like, you really think that, like, Trump has a healthcare plan that's going to specifically preclude the symptoms, the medical problems that might come from somebody being raped? Do you think it's not going to cover that? Why? Like, what do you think? Like they're mustache twirling evil villains?
Slavery again.
It's so, yeah. He's gonna bring back slavery. Like, I'd be like, and I'd refuse to let them go along. Like, there are reasons that we can disagree, but I would just refuse to let them believe stupid things.
Right. He's gonna bring back slavery. Okay, how? When? What? And then I'd get in trouble.
Everybody's gonna go along with it. Why would anybody want that? It's so like, there's a real childish sort of mentality that Trump is working with the Russians. Like, what? What are you talking about? No, he isn't. And I would argue with them. And I think that would make them angry that I was arguing. I wouldn't let them have their fantasies.
Back in when you were, working for Green Lantern, and you said this, was this like visible? Like, did people actually say, like, you can't work in comics anymore? Like, get out the door? Like, was there like I picture the pitchforks and torches coming out,
Well, they would say this is harassment. They would say that,
so they come at you, attack you, say Trump is a pro-rapist, and if you argue with them, you're harassing them.
Right. I'd be harassing them, and I'd say, no, I'm not I don't mean. And I'd be like, I'm so, like, I'd realize the fragility and the childishness of so many of these people. I'd be like, no, I'm not harassing you. You're saying that my belief system is unsympathetic to the victims of rape, and I refuse to let you believe that. Like, because you're saying something about me, I gotta argue with you, and I gotta set you straight. Stop believing things like that. If you want to say that, like, Republicans don't believe in climate change, feel free. I don't believe in it. It's like, go ahead and say that man-made climate change is something that Republicans don't believe in. I will not argue with you. But when you say things like that, that like Republicans are pushing for women to suffer from rape, I gotta stand up for the things that I believe in and at least push back a little bit.
Yeah, it's childish. Like, I was just saying today, I was like, if you could tell me one articulate reason why you didn't like Trump, I said, first off, I don't care. I'm at the point where I don't care anymore. I said, but if you can articulate why, and beyond he's an asshole, because he probably is. I'm sure if I was sitting at the dinner table with Trump, I'd be like turning around being like, does anybody else see this? You know what I mean? Like, name one politician that you would sit down at the table and actually enjoy their conversation. I can't think of any offhand. But I said, but give me a reason. And he got so freaking mad at me. And then finally he said he's anti-union. I said, okay, finally, that's an argument. That's,
is Trump anti-union? I mean, I don't know what he would be.
Well, the unions all give money to the Democrats, so it's a matter of survival if you're a Republican to be, you know what I mean?
Right.
Part of our paycheck goes right to the Democrat Party. There's nothing we can do about it. You know, like, so if I found an organization that only donated to the B team and I was on the A team, it's only a matter of like, yeah, I don't like them. You know, they don't give me money. They give the my you know, so but I can't argue. At least that's a legitimate argument. But he's an animal.
That's fine. Yeah, like I can't when you say things like Trump is a traitor to this country, listen, that is a dearly held
Right.
delusion. Like that is your mental illness speaking.
Do you remember the Black Dossier? Do you remember the Russian hoax? That,
of course, like these are all like proven hoaxes that you've been led down this path and you're determined to believe the worst possible things. Like if you live in a world where you believe that Trump, the Trump dossier and Trump was, being he's a traitor because he's being puppeted by the Russians. Like if you
he's Putin's pocket,
if you believe any of these things that CNN is teaching you and some of the most ridiculous things, that's going to color your whole entire worldview. Like you are going to be a twisted, damaged person who is completely askew from reality, and I don't know what to do. Like you might be a danger to yourself and others. So what do we do with you at that point? Well, that's half of the country is that right now. So I don't like. I understand. Like I can't work at this point. I can't work in a comic book industry that's filled with these people because they're a danger to themselves and to me. So, like, I feel like I am at risk being around these people. We have to make Comicsgate.
They threatened to punch everybody.
Right. They said, we're punching Nazis. I said, yeah, okay, let's go. You're the Nazi, they say. Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
They label you and then they can attack you. You know,
right?
I may be wrong, but didn't they threaten to like go to a convention you were at and assault you, or am I mistaking you with the?
Well, there was one guy who threatened to literally murder me. He said, "If you come to a convention, I'm going to shoot you."
Right.
And then he said, "What's your address? I'm coming to your house with a shotgun."
Let me get you my
address. That
was
a retailer. Yeah, I was like, "Hey, man!" Like, and the thing about it is that I'm a person of. I know that I have a gruff exterior, but I'm a person of tremendous compassion. And I spoke to this guy. First of all, you're not coming to my house with a gun. That's. I mean, like we're Republic. Like seriously, like you don't want to do that. Like we're going to perforate you. You will. I will. I don't. You don't want to brag about things like that, but it's a serious thing. You come to hurt my family, like that's a stupid idea. But I can tell things are not going well for you when you're saying things like this. Right. Like, are you okay?
If there's something going on at home,
something serious, and yeah, he's losing his store. He's in tremendous financial. Remember this guy?
Yeah.
And he blames it on Trump. And of course, when you're somebody whose life is falling apart, you need somebody to hate.
Right. And, it's easier to blame somebody else than to blame yourself. And I think that's the whole politics behind it.
I said to him, I said, I said, man, like, are you all right? Like I was talking in private. I said, you're not coming to hurt me. I said, what's the matter with you? And he said, did you really vote for Trump? That's not an issue. That's not a situation that affects. Answer me. You understand? I'm like,
I don't mean to laugh. I'm sorry, but
like holy cow! Like he's crying and be like,
fix this.
Answer me. Did you vote for him? It's gonna mean your life or death. You answer me. Did you vote for that man? Like that is the histrionic, effeminate state of these people. That is like they're damaged and want to, and you can't even. Like I know it might sound funny, but it is serious. Like that is how damaged these people are, and at that point, it's dangerous. Like they're a danger to themselves and others. Now, for that reason, Comicsgate has to exist. I'm not going to stop making comics because crazy people want me to stop making comics.
And people want comics. People, there's so many people alienated that want comics. I'm living proof of that. And I got some disposable money to throw at comics. Why not?
Yes. Like I'm going to keep making comics because that's what I'm here to do. I mean, I feel like I have a divine right to make comic books and a purpose to make comic books, as though God literally put me here on this earth to make comic books, and no lunatic from California is going to stop me, nor an army of such. I'm going to continue making comic books. Not only that, I'm going to use all of my power to make sure that nobody is prevented from making comic books if that's the way that they feel. And that's what Comicsgate is. So F all of these people. Comicsgate
I
exists
absolutely
because
agree.
we want to be free creatively.
Right. You're Nazis. You're right. And I just
That
have to laugh.
sucks. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want them to say that, but
I,
that's
I mean, if I'm sure you have it, but I have live chats every Wednesday. I had a Catherine Ironwood a couple of weeks ago. A Jewish communist on my channel. And then I Frankie B. watched it. Black. I got more diversity on my stupid little channel than you can shake a stick at. How's that for a unit of measurement? I just have to laugh at that. They make these caricatures and attack strawman fallacy is the only word I could think of. And you ask for. I get mad because I always say prove it, and nobody can prove anything. Nobody can. They're just repeating somebody else that somebody else said. It's
some other accusation of something that they misunderstood and something they don't want to understand.
I
Do
was
they
gonna say
really
it's
want to
more than that.
understand what the Trump piss dossier? Do they really want to know the truth of that or not? And the answer is no. They bring up you threatened to kill Asian people, Ethan. I didn't. You want to know what that was? You want to know what that meant or not? No, they don't want to know. They
want
like
to believe what I know.
right. They
I wanna know
prefer
what I
that.
didn't.
Like all of this stuff. Like they want the comfort of the things, the reasons that they have for hatred. Whereas with me, I do dislike these people intensely. But if you tell me that I'm wrong about something, I'm going to change my mind. And if you can prove to me that, hey, this thing that you thought that you hated about a certain comic book is wrong, you misunderstood it, I'm going to be like, oh, okay. Well, I'm just going to cross that one off the list of about 1,000 other reasons why I hate SJW comics. That one, I'll X off. I'm listening. I'm still here. I'm not insane. I'm not filled with hatred. I'm still here and listening and hoping that people will change for the better. And man, I know comics are really important to a lot of people, and I know that they can be better. And we can produce comic book stories that can change the world. And I mean that with all my heart. I know that stories are the most important thing, whether it's the true story of what happened to this person and who's being accused of a crime, or whether it's just a fanciful, fun story that happens to be an allegory for the state of the world that we live in now. Like, Orwell's 1984 means everything. It's just a story, but it's so important that people understand it. Animal Farm right now, so important that people understand what all of this stuff means. And even understanding the world through Harry Potter, or whatever it is. These are all stories that change the world.
I'm a big proponent of Harry Potter. I think she did a wonderful job of growing the story through the perspective of a teenager who goes from 11 to 17. That last book explained how politics works to children.
Mm-hmm.
I think I know my wife loves the movies. I think the movie's okay, but I thought the books were phenomenal in the way. If the Ministry of Magic was trying to manipulate Harry, I thought this was wonderful to bring that to children. I was really, really impressed. I'm a big proponent of all ages art and comics in general. I think that's another thing I think comic books are missing. I don't have children. I know you have children. Do you want them to reading comic books about the gay X-Men having orgies on the moon?
I mean, of course not. Yeah, I don't. I feel like I have to protect them from, the very clear and stated agenda of the people who are making those comics. I do want them to read comic books, though, if they're interested. I don't want to force it on them. I think my daughter, Ava, who has autism, she's 7 years old. She is really in love with DC Comics. She has no conception that her father used to work there.
Oh, wow.
She
That's
found.
shocking when she gets older. That'll be fun.
Is it going to mean anything? I don't think it means. It's like when you find out what your parents do, it doesn't matter. But I mean, she loves like the Legion of Super Pets, DC superheroes. I love DC superheroes.
That's sweet though. That's what it should be.
She found it through the internet. She found it through YouTube and all of this stuff, and she loves these characters. We went to. I said you can have one toy. I took her to Walmart. You can choose one toy. And she walked up and down all the toy aisles, and she grabbed one of these cheap mega packs of DC superhero action figures, and she knew all of them. She took Aquaman out to the swimming pool.
That's
she's
cute. That's
yeah.
cute.
I mean, it's like that's who she is, and she, these characters are important. Kids love them, but I gotta make sure that the reading material that she gets and the the films that she watches about these characters are good, haven't been corrupted.
Yeah, I had my friend Tommy and his wife came over a little while ago, and I had some comics that I have just in case. Here you go. Here's some comic books. And the little girls looked at it and they said, "What's a comic book?"
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, I don't know if they care. Like, I don't think Ava cares about comic books. They're in the house all the time, but she loves the characters. She likes them all.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know. Do you think they'll never go back to all ages comics? Marvel, I think Marvel and DC fundamentally missed the boat by not, by not having comic books accessible for little kids. Because I don't know how old you are, but I'm 54 years old, and I feel like I'm probably the average age of comic book readers. Even at work, I don't care.
Well, they're missing out. They have this idea that their comic books need to be made for little kids, and that isn't true because nobody made little kid comic books for you when you were a little kid. You jumped right on board to the material that was being offered to adults and to teenagers, and you were like, "This is fine. I'm going to." You learned to read from them. You said you advanced to meet their level. They didn't have to descend to meet yours, and I don't think we should either.
Absolutely right.
When they try to make these like silly comics that are meant for little kids, they're screwing up. There is a whole other genre with the Dog Man and all of this stuff that's out there right now. The Telgemeier,
Raina Telgemeier, I think is her name.
Yeah, like that stuff is a whole different thing. It's literature for kids. I think Diary of a Wimpy Kid. My son found that when that first came out, loved it. But I don't think that the comic books need to try to be that. I think they need to be what they are.
I also forget if it was you that said, but I think comics were the best under the Comics Code Authority. I look at the Bronze Age, 70s and 80s, the Jim Shooter years of Marvel. Like I was a little kid reading Chris Claremont with like borderline purple prose, writing, massive thick dialogue in his comic books, and I understood it. And what I didn't understand, I had friends that were reading comic books and we would discuss it, and okay, I'm a stupid kid, I made this mistake or whatever. I couldn't pronounce Wolverine, so I looked it up in a dictionary. You know what I mean? Like, what's a Colossus? It made me go and look up what this Colossus was. This is why the name fits the comic. And the story of Stan Lee wanted to call the X-Men the Mutants.
Yeah.
And I think it was Goodman said, no, nobody knows what a mutant is. And Stan goes, kids aren't stupid, they'll look it up. And he's absolutely right. Kids aren't dumb, and if they like it, how many, you have children, if your kids are interested in something, they will dig and find out everything they can. I think we underestimate children these days.
Oh, their brains are sponges. Like, I can't learn a goddamn thing these days. I'm set in my ways. I'm a brick in my head. But like I said, my daughter Ava is interested in, and she has a sponge for a brain. She's absorbing things. She's learning Spanish from the computer. Like, she watches Sesame Street in Spanish completely. And I could say to her, how do you say apple in Spanish? And she just says, like, it's whatever it is, apple in Spanish. She wants to know all the dinosaurs. She wants to know all the names of sea creatures in the aquarium, and she knows them all, and she collects
She can
them.
pronounce all the dinosaurs, right?
Yeah. She's just like, I said, so what are you playing there, Ava? She had 3 little pigs. And she goes, I'm playing 3 little pigs. And I go, where's your big bad wolf? And she says, it's not a big bad wolf. It's a big bad ankylosaurus. And she's got, sure enough, is an ankylosaurus.
Yeah.
Big bad ankylosaurus versus the 3 little pigs. She's hilarious.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. I don't know. I think comics, they're missing the boat by making, first off, they're dull. I'm sure you saw that Catwoman berating Batman. Like, that's not what I want to read. Why aren't you spending all your money helping the poor? Yeah, I'm doing that, but that doesn't sell a comic book. I want to read 22 pages of Batman talking to his accountant about setting up the homeless fund.
I love liberals that just show up and they decide that they're going to make our characters look like hypocrites. Like, thank you, assholes. They did it with Indiana Jones 5 too, where they just they had that character come in and say, oh God, what did she say? You stole from indigenous people. I mean, just shut up, Indiana Jones had to say, listen, I'm a Nazi puncher. Oh, yes, sir. But actual Nazis, not, Republicans. And she's like, yes, but you also stole from indigenous people. It's like, get this off of my... Stop it.
Yeah.
Stop making our heroes
That cost me
smarty
$45
pants.
to take my wife to that movie, and that's what I got to hear. I don't know.
These people, they take, I mean, what they do is they write our characters as cardboard cutouts for their stand-ins to go and beat up on. And when they're done, they just stand there like they have no answer for that. Indiana Jones isn't smart enough to answer like some smart mouth, punk. He's just going to stand there. Well, I guess I got owned. That's all these people do is they sit there and then write themselves into scenarios where they can beat up on our heroes, and they do it in comics too. It makes me very angry.
I was complaining about like comic books getting too woke, and this is one of these guys that's not really interested in the wide world. He just wants to get his pension and go home. So he's like, what do you mean by woke? And it took me a couple of days before I could come up with an answer. And the best thing I could think of is a woke comic book or a woke writer. They insert themselves into the story, and the character becomes the mouthpiece for them. Like they don't have the talent to imagine. Like if I'm going to write Star Wars and I'm Luke Skywalker and I'm woke, or I'm going to make up a character degrade Luke Skywalker because this character speaks for me and my politics and blah blah blah. At the moment, that's woke. They can't be subtle. They can't imagine.
Well, it would be great if you can put your point of view in there, but really good writers like Ann Nocenti and Louise Simonson, two women who worked in comics amongst the men, writing comics as men would, right, instead of as women would.
There was no women before 2016. I think
that's right. Yeah, completely devoid of women. Well, like she might have a character speak some liberal diatribe, but then these people were smart enough. These writers were good enough to make the rejoinder happen. So you're going to tell Indiana Jones that he steals from indigenous people. Indiana Jones, if the writer was not doing a self-insert and here to beat up on the character, would have a rejoinder. I don't steal from them. I protect their artifacts and put them in a museum where they can be looked at and respected by everyone around the world.
And we could all learn about the things that these people revere.
That's right. Like I'm here to educate people. I'm here to educate.
World.
Right. These artifacts now belong to the world. Okay. Those indigenous people are dead. Their artifacts now belong to the world, and I'm here to protect them. But no, I mean, see, that would be the thing. Like if you were an actual writer who was writing Indiana Jones with some integrity, what, you don't think he's thought of that before? You don't think he has an answer? You don't think he has integrity at all? Like, of course he does. He has an answer. Write his answer. Stop writing for yourself. Stop writing only your point of view into characters so that you can beat them up on screen and in comics. Give these people their own integrity, their own ability to, their own morality, their own ability to answer for themselves. That's part of what wokesters do. It doesn't define what woke is, but it is part of their mental illness.
Indiana Jones should have said what Alpha Suma said. It belongs in a museum where I could charge the indigenous
people to see their own stuff. Right. They have to pay admission to see their own stuff. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. What do you feel about when people go, oh, there's always been politics in comic books, you're just not paying attention?
Yeah, it's true. There always have been.
Right.
There
always has been. But I got to say, like, when they bring up Superman beating up landlords, I'm just like, well, everybody hates bad landlords. That's not a left wing or a right wing.
Superman beat up social justice. It's justice. Social justice is different. Social justice is a unique phenomenon where there's an emphasis put on race. Race of people, racial justice, people's gender and things like this. Like I said, there are politics in comics, but nowadays they're entirely one-sided.
Correct. Yes.
There isn't almost anybody else. Like I just used that example. Almost anybody else would present two sides of the issue in a comic book. Sure, this is political. We're tackling abortion. We're tackling gun rights. But we're going to show both sides of the issue. We're going to try to do it with integrity.
And then be an idiot.
Right. But here's what both sides believe. Now you decide who's right. And the reader is smart enough to make up their own mind which side is the right side for them, what they believe. And that's the way politics were usually presented. Now it's propaganda,
I used to be a school teacher, believe it or not. And I used to say, like, we're failing the kids because we're just telling them conclusions. We're not teaching them critical thinking. We're not. Believe me, I was not very popular among the staff at my school.
No, we got to tell these kids what to believe. It's like, Let
This was
them,
the 90s. This was before things got bad. Yeah.
yeah, let's give them the facts. Give them give them points of view, and then let them decide what sounds right to them.
Well, I have a cousin that doesn't talk to me anymore because she's a big social justice warrior. I mean, she literally uses those words, so I'm not making fun of her.
Yeah.
And I said to her, I said, social justice is a religion. I said, it's an absolute religion because of the things you believe. Like you believe, like, okay, you believe, okay, nobody's going to argue that there was slavery and blacks had some injustice done to them in the history of America. So you think it'll balance out if we do injustice to what we should do is just stop the injustice. I said, but you believe that there's some karma, which implies a deity that's keeping track of all this stuff. So social justice is a religious idea, and I don't want religious ideas being the government having religious concepts in schools teaching on and I'm an asshole. Oops, I'm an asshole, and she don't talk to me no more.
Oh
You know,
boy.
once you start saying things like karma and balances, like with the universe, like entity from or eternity from Marvel Comics is gonna, or the Living Tribunal is gonna say, okay, it's time to stop being mean to white people now because the karma has been. That's such a religious concept. That's something only Jim Starlin would make up. But
Yeah, it is true, and people are comforted by that. I think one thing that I've noticed about social justice warriors is they want to feel like they're being good people,
right.
which is fine. I agree. I think it's good to feel like you're a good person, but in order for them to feel like good people, you have to be a shitty person. And so there are good people and there are shitty persons, and they want to be the good person while they're pointing the finger of scorn at you. So it's very important when you disrupt that mindset. It really creates this cognitive dissonance because you can present to them the reality of the evil thought process that is social justice, the racist, segregationist thought process that is the religion of social justice, and that is going to make them completely infuriated. That's going to make them
why they
insane.
get so berserk when you challenge them. Like if I know your religion, and if I was to say your religion is crap or whatever, like that's hitting you emotionally. You know what I mean? You react emotionally. But if I say something about your politics, I should be able to be like, well, this is why I agree with this. But so that's why these people go berserkowitz when I say something about like social justice. Like,
that's how I measure how I'm a good person. No,
right. This is my soul you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, you're absolutely right. I remember before I met my wife, I dated a girl who said she couldn't date me because she goes, I can't be with somebody who thinks my politics are dangerous.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, I mean, the thing about it is it's possible for everyone to be right in some way.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like see, I know that takes like an adult mindset where it's like, you know what? Like,
I said, I don't even think I have 100% the 100 correct opinions.
I'm ready to listen, but I mean, it's like, it's possible for everyone to be, or it's possible for everyone to be good people, baseline good people, based on the things that they believe in. Everybody wants the right thing, but we have different ideas about how to get there.
Correct.
That it's possible. The world doesn't have to be this this kind of like dichotomy where there are good persons and shitty persons.
Right.
It doesn't have to be that way. We don't have to hate each
childish
other.
thinking.
Right, of course. Like my being a good person doesn't depend on your being a shitty person, but it does for them, and that's the whole thing.
I
that's
tend to
why
find
it's
that
dangerous.
These SJW people, they believe in a zero sum loss for everything. Like if Ethan Van Sciver made $20 billion on Cyberfrog, that means other people lost $20 billion because they believe in this circle and all the money is here. So when you take it, you took it from them. They believe all goodness is in this circle, and and they're good, so therefore you become evil. It's like cartoon villain thinking. That's like how the Red Skull thinks, or Doctor Doom or something.
Yeah.
I can't succeed because Reed Richards succeeds.
It's just a lot of very strange. I mean, I count on men to lead the way in a lot of ways. A lot of just femininity in today's men. Just the way that they think and the way they speak. I don't understand them at all. I have real difficulty with communicating with social justice. Where all the guys in comics who are feminine enough to let women come in and say this boy's hobby needs to change to accommodate us who don't even like it.
Right.
and everybody just rolled over for them. And I still look at my peers in comics who are male and just go, what did you do that for? What did we do that for? What was that about? Comics were fine. They were selling just fine.
All of my hobbies have been slowly destroyed. Star Wars, Star Trek, comics, and when I moved out here and I met a group of guys that are into Warhammer, and they're just like, all these people just like are freaking out because there's not female Space Marines, but none of these people own any Warhammer products. So why do they care? And like, so far, the Warhammer, I don't even know the name of the company that makes it. So far, they've been ignoring them. God bless you, but why would you cater to these people? Like, women don't buy comic books. Okay, so I'm making a facetious argument. Women don't buy comic books, so let's listen to what women have to say about comic books.
They're not for women are quick to say it's not for you when we criticize some of the stuff that they're doing in it.
Right.
I'm willing to agree. Yeah, exactly. Like it. Okay, so that's not for me. Fine. Maybe comic books weren't for you. Maybe superhero comic books weren't for women.
Chuck Dixon says that up in the 60s, girls bought, a lot of comics. And he goes, and he says, I never thought about this, and I'll listen to Chuck Dixon. He knows more about comics than I'll ever know. He said what happened was the fans grew up and got into the comic book industry, and they like superheroes, so they stopped making all of the girl-centric comics. It was organic. It's not like they planned it. It's not like Roy Thomas said, "Screw those girls. I want to write boys comics," but he wrote what he was interested in. But this is artificial in that we're purposely alienating guys like me who are spending $400 a month on comic books. Now I'm buying Cyberfrog. Now I'm buying.
Are you buying Cyberfrog? Oh, yeah, I'm buying
Cyberfrog. I already pledged on Rainbow the Brute.
Oh, great! Thank you
very much.
Links are
in the description, everybody. So check it out.
I appreciate that.
I was excited. I told my wife, I said, I can't believe I have Ethan Van Sciver coming on. He's perhaps the greatest living comic book artist right now.
That's how beautiful these are.
Like,
I'm actually trying. I'm creating beautiful comics that are collectible. I'm reading a bunch of Marvel and DC stuff, and the books are such poor quality. I don't understand. Like, they're really just not good quality items. Like, beyond the stories not being good and being offensive, I don't even want to call it like these. Even if the stories were terrible, and the Cyberfrog story, of course, is an epic of our time. I mean, it is. It is. Amazing.
Hero's journey over here.
Hero's journey. Yeah, the books are so beautiful. Like, how could you resist?
Yeah. My wife gets a kick out of the premise of Rainbow the Brute, by the way. She thinks it's a hoot. When you were talking about the printing, do you remember, I think it was around 2010, Marvel Comics was so badly printed, you couldn't touch them without getting like your thumbprints would be in the ink. Like, I remember they were tacky. I was like, what? It's like I would get Marvel Comics and I would keep them in a bag for like a week because I didn't want to.
You wanted them to dry.
Yeah, the ink. I was like, what is going on? Weird. And it was, talk. And I got to laugh because I was reaching over for stuff. But right now, some of the best quality comics, and I'm not even talking about the art. I'm not even talking about the story. Just the printing wise is Comicsgate. I know alternate comics. You talk to Pete Samedi. Those comics are awesomely printed comics. Allegiance Arts. I had Mitch Breitweiser on my channel. Those comics are awesomely printed comics. I can't believe.
Mitch's Red Rooster was
amazingly printed.
Fantastic.
And then I go to Marvel Comics, and it's like it feels bad. It doesn't feel right. I'm a very tactile person.
I like it. I crumpled one up and threw it in the garbage, and it crumpled so easily in one hand, just like tissue paper. And I went,
Didn't somebody try to rip up the Cyberfrog comic and couldn't do it?
You can't.
I couldn't do it.
It's indestructible, Cyberfrog. It should be too.
Yeah. And so I wanted to talk about. So you started your own business. Mm-hmm. You that must have been scary. You've been working in comics for 20 years at the point, and now you got to change. I changed careers from a school teacher to construction. Oh my God, my stomach hurt for 2 years. I was so nervous. I'm taking tests, and I didn't even know what my tools were called. I was going to work, and guys were making fun of me because they're asking for stuff, and I'm handing them the wrong thing. I thought they was going to hit me with the tools like my dad used to when I handed them the wrong tool, And now I'm thinking about retirement. It worked out. So first off, I admire you for leaving and starting your own business. And nobody's your boss. I think that's great. You know, they try to cancel you, and you're like, you know, smoke that cigar.
Yeah, I mean, look, I enjoy what I do now a lot more than I think I did. I if I get an idea in my head, I can do it. I don't have to ask anyone's permission, except for backers. You know, I can say, hey, you know, will you let me do this? But they say yes most of the time by backing my projects. I like it.
For those of you who don't know, Ethan's making action figures. You know,
Oh, we did make them. Yeah. Hold on a
making
second. Let
action
me
figures.
turn
How
my
cool
camera
is
off
that?
here. This is something else.
Yeah. And these action figures are like just as quality as anything else you're going to get, Marvel Legends or Todd McFarlane. I think that's so freaking cool. How cool is that you make your own character, design it, and the next thing you know, you're holding this 3D posable action figure in your hand. That's got to feel good.
Yeah, like it's something that I always wanted to do. Here I am. I'm back.
Yep.
Here is the Cyberfrog action figure.
That is awesome. Yeah, I back those. I got all of them. Oh, it's not mint in box anymore, Ethan. What are you doing?
Don't worry, I have another one of these. Yeah, I mean, we get him out of here. Look at this.
You're absolutely right. Blood Moon Comics there's so many companies that are making so much.
Yeah, I mean, we did it. It even smells good. We did our own action figures. And it's amazing. So we're able to do this. We're able to make a Vespis action figure.
That is so cool.
And by the way, people who back the Honeycomb box for Wrecked Planet are all receiving this Salamandroid PVC, which is
just to prove I
you got the Cyberfrog PVC. I love it. Yeah, like it's fun. I mean, we're able to do whatever we want to do, and I'm grateful that I don't have to ask and you know, beg a company to make this happen. Playmates Toys was going to make a Cyberfrog action figure in the 90s. It didn't work out because Japan said no. That broke my heart. But this is just, you know, this is a way to make up for it.
How cool does that feel to have that in your hand right now?
They're so fun to play with too. I mean, like just the big hands here, the feet with the toes that are adjustable. Like, you know, they're really just good. And yet it feels amazing. This is like the culmination of a lifelong dream. My character looks cool too. You know?
So how old were you when you made up Cyberfrog?
19.
You were 19?
Yeah. If I had known then that it's like, you know, there would be a Cyberfrog toy when I was approaching 50 years of age.
God, yeah. How cool is that? That's gotta feel good.
That would be nice.
Now, your wife Andrea, was she? I don't know all about your history. I'm not a stalker or anything like that. But was she around when you were leaving DC and everything? Like that must have been a rough time.
Yeah, she was there like throughout that. I started dating her in 2014, and I was really kind of grouchy about the way Blackest Night went. I kind of like wasn't taking work and everything. Well, when I started dating my now wife, she just said, "You got to get back with DC. You got to work hard." And so I did, and I was very humble. I took any job they would give me because DC was just kind of like, "Well, you're not working, so what are you doing?" I took all these jobs and basically worked my way back to Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, and was doing 8 books a year, which is a lot for me. I've never been a monthly artist, but 8 issues a year was a lot, and I was making pretty decent money when I got canceled. And then when I did get canceled, yeah, I mean, she was just like stunned by it. I think she was hurt by it too for me.
Yeah, I could imagine like that breaks up marriages. You know,
yeah,
so
I'm glad it didn't. I think it made us stronger. You know, but you know, just. I think she saw very clearly who the enemy was in this situation. She's like, you voted differently than them, and they're so politically agreed.
Free and fair election. How dare you?
Yeah, like they wanted to take everything from you for that. They wanted to take your entire life from you for that.
Like Richard Myers says, it's like they want you isolated and committing suicide. You know, that was the goal. I mean, what else have they ever stopped? I mean. You can't.
I think they now at this point they like to. It's a constant gaslighting. They're like, "You're irrelevant now. You're just irrelevant. You don't matter." I'm like, I just don't care what you think. Like, I really just want to make like if I'm irrelevant, then that means you're going to leave me alone. Good, because
right, yeah.
I just want my fans to keep buying Cyberfrog. I want to keep making Cyberfrog. But yeah, there's a constant war to like hurt me. hurt my feelings or something. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it's
Don't you
like
know Ethan doesn't have feelings
I
anymore?
don't have any feelings. You've taken them all from me. Right. I'm a vampire now.
You know what you do? Show him that picture of you guys at the comic convention having steaks, cigars, and champagne, and you know,
So
whatever you
fun.
were drinking. How and then see if anybody in the mainstream industry at this particular time could compare to that. You know, what do they have in Pez and water? You
It
know,
used to be like that. I mean, the mainstream comic book industry, we used to go out to family dinners. We'd go to Morton's Steakhouse and order steaks and lobster. They can't afford to do that anymore. It's
right?
over with. But I mean, we can. When Comicsgate gets together, there's just a feeling of family, and we will go out to eat. And there will be some guys there that I know can't afford it, and so we'll cover their check.
Oh,
You know,
that's
it's
nice.
like we want you to eat the way we're eating right now. We're feasting here. You join us. There really is just a feeling of love and family, and we bust each other's chops, and you
Right.
know, it's really really nice.
Well, that's the way men are. Come to my job. Spend one day in the job, and you hear the things that we say to each other as we're smiling.
Yeah,
You know, I'm sure the
all done out
average
of love.
Marvel employee would be calling HR.
Yeah, it is true. And there is no HR, so you know,
Yeah.
either like it or lump it. You know, this is the way it is. I like it. I'm really happy with Comicsgate. I'm happy with the way things are going, and I'm really excited about Cyberfrog 3, which we just launched. It's
Yep.
doing
Link is
very
in the
well.
description, everybody.
It's raised over $500,000 so far. We're going to keep that going. We're making this time, instead of making the freebie PVC that you got, we're making little Hot Wheels, Cyberfrog Hot
Yeah, I
Wheels.
saw that. That's cool. Yeah.
Just like
You know, again, I don't know how you're 50 years old, making your childhood all over again. You know,
yes. I'm
That's
turning 49 next week,
oh,
so
okay.
I'm still hanging on to my 40s, but
Yeah,
I'm
hang on for dear life. Next thing you look like me. We'll have the Council of Elrond.
you're just having fun, you know.
Yeah, it's kind of, so. I don't want to keep you all night. I know you got work to do. You do your own stream. Thank you so much for coming. This was a pleasure. You are a human sunbeam. I mean, look at me. I'm smiling. I think I got a tan right now. I got to get some sunscreen. It was a blast. So I just want to make sure everybody knows where could they reach? Where could they get your Indiegogo? Right. I got a couple of links.
Do go. You can follow me. Subscribe to me on YouTube at Comic Artist Pro
There you
Secrets.
go.
Obviously. You can follow the official All Caps Comics on Twitter at Cyberfrog HD.
That's your
Cyberfrog Help
company.
Desk. Cyberfrog HD. Yes. So if you have a problem or you have a question, we promote through there. We'd love you to follow us so that we can promote to you, obviously. But if you have any questions, you can ask us there. Also, Cyberfrog 3 Red Extermination on Indiegogo. Cyberfrog Dark Harvest. The Cyberfrog action figures are all available. I hope you support me in doing this because I want to keep doing it. And one thing people might complain that sometimes I'm a little late with my projects, but they'll never complain about the quality once they get them. Our stuff is amazing, and you'll enjoy it.
Oh, one thing I wanted to ask you, and I just slipped my mind, is I see now you have Comicsgate Comics. Are you expanding now? You're going to make your own comic line?
Well, it turns out I own the trademark for the word Comicsgate. So my job is to protect it and to use it in commerce. And I've made some hats and T-shirts in order to do that. Once you own a trademark, you have to put it into commerce constantly.
Right,
You got to protect it, and
correct?
you have to sell things with it. So I am doing that, and then I've decided to branch off of All Caps Comics and do something called Comicsgate Comics. I'm not sure exactly how we're going to do it yet, but the first book is John Malin's Black Riding Hood, which
great.
It is really good. We're printing it. We printed it to order. We offered it for a couple of months. I think the print run is 1,400 copies. It's going to be very rare, very desirable. I'm printing that now, and issue 2 might be Elephant. I think what it is it's just going to be like
I'm intrigued by that.
Elephant is the story of a circus elephant who was abused. He's a real elephant, he's like a circus elephant who becomes a serial killer who is abused by the circus, and he just goes on a rampage. And it's going to be like if a circus animal meets Jason Voorhees. There's going to be a supernatural kind of element to his revenge, stomping on clowns. all of this. It's going to be a very sad horror story. So that's Elephant. And
Somebody said Annihilator or something is going to be one of it.
well, we were going to do like we were making fun of like crossovers like Hippopocalypse, things like that. I don't know. It's just we come up with dumb ideas like when we're talking, doing live streams, and this is the kind of thing that we would want to do with Comicsgate Comics. It would all be organically created stuff. So if I come up with an idea, or John does, or Shane does, but we can't do it ourselves, we might hire from the talent that's out there. I don't want to use other.
You mean give people work? Oh my God!
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. To kind of put people to work. And so, they'll be my IPs, not anyone else's IPs or John's or, whatever. But we'll make that clear to people. We want to make fun comics that, are just out there. Whatever comes to mind.
Yeah, that sounds. It's fun. That's what comic books are. Yeah, I just have to laugh at all these people that I don't want to. I was about to mention the guy's name, but I it's not my name to mention, but he was talking about flirting with the idea of making an Indiegogo comic, and then he goes, "What should I do?" And I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I admit that I do the wrong thing every once in a while. But I said, I voted for Trump. Am I welcome to buy your comic? And oh my God, his wife private messaged me and said, "Please stop." The guys at Marvel saw your comment and they're already. And I felt bad. I apologized. I was just being a stupid jerk, and I admit what I did was wrong. I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I was trying to make a point, but I probably didn't do it the best way. But I really did feel bad. And this is a major name, a major talent. I'm going to say this is a guy that Marvel and DC probably can't afford these days. So to this woman who will never watch this stream, like, are Marvel and DC paying you anymore? I haven't seen any work by you in 15 years.
That's just crazy. It really is weird. And like the thing is, like, that's a funny, weird question for you to ask, but it's apropos of what's going on today. It's so sad, and
yeah,
they're afraid. The people are afraid.
I mean, again, I know what I did was a jerky thing. I admit it, but the pleading from the guy's wife,
I don't think it was a jerky thing. I think that, but I mean, it's just like you have to
make a point. I wanted to say my comic books are for everybody. That's all I want. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like who are you making your comic books for? Anybody with $12 in their pocket.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, people say comic books are for everybody. They're not. They're for people who want to buy comic books. That's who they're for. They're not for everybody, and we shouldn't be trying to get everybody because we're going to get some weird stuff.
John Byrne won't talk to me. I blindly sent out invites to everybody, and John Byrne never even responded. You go to his website and it says, "Do not contact me. I do not do interviews."
Yeah, he's a grump. I love John Byrne.
I love John Byrne. Yeah.
He doesn't.
I'm not going to mention names because I don't want to hurt anybody's life. They'll cancel him and try to get him to kill himself. But I will say it was a major talent.
Yeah, it's too bad.
Yeah, the world is. I know the world.
We got to just move forward. That's all it is. Like, I don't. My thing is, listen. Whatever happened yesterday is yesterday. I'm not trying to hold grudges. I don't want to. I don't want to be angry at people who might have wronged me. Holding a grudge is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. It's just not a good idea. I want to be a sunbeam. Moving forward, here's what we do. We just make comics. That's what it is.
When I told one of my friends that you were going to be on my channel, they said, "Oh, Ethan," they weren't too happy about it. And I said, whatever you want to say about the guy is fair. Like I hear you disagreeing with a lot of the people in your panel, and you explain yourself. I think you're fair, in your judgments about art, about the culture war. I mean, just your opinion about the Barbie movie. You're getting attacked for that over a silly Barbie movie. I think you made a good point.
That's the culture war for you. Yeah. That's like, no, you're supposed to. This is the bad guys right here, and I'm like, oh. What the problem with the Barbie movie is, though? It's like most of the bad guy stuff isn't well done. No matter what you think of the message of that movie, it was well done, and so it's like I got to tip my hat, about that. But yeah, that art is important to me. Communication is important to me. Stories are important to me. Self-expression is important to me. One of my biggest problems with SJWs and the state of comics today is that they're failing on all those fronts.
Yeah.
And I can't tolerate it. I don't like it. I don't like to be excluded from it so that I can't even try to fix it myself. And so we got to just go on our own.
I just don't like that people who just got into comic books 7 years ago are telling me about Spider-Man. I'm like, let's go walk into my back room. Gail Simone yelled at me because somebody was talking about comic books, and I just said, let me see a picture of your comic book collection before we continue this conversation. And I put my picture of my comic book, and she said I was obnoxious. I said, yes, I am obnoxious, but I still want to see that comic book collection. Before we continue, show your credentials. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
When the police show up at the door, show me the badge. You want to talk comic books with me? Show me your comic books.
Yeah, I want you to understand that I'm somebody who has been reading and collecting comic books all my life. Here's my collection. These are my credentials. I like that. I don't think there's anything wrong with asking that. You know. Okay, I'm sorry for keeping you for so long. I could talk to you all night long. I think you're an inspirational talent. I like that you went from a guy who was canceled to a guy who could smoke that cigar and drink that champagne and have that tomahawk steak with all your successful buddies. It really is like success is the best revenge. You know. I guess. Yeah, I know. I owe it all to these fans. I can't do it without them. It's not like I did something great. It's that a lot of people believed in me, stood behind me, and
there you go.
They advanced me their money. I just think about that. It's not like I handed them a product in exchange for their $25. They said, "Here's $25."
And product, and then told them, "You better like this, or you're the wrong type of person."
No. They gave me $25 and said, "When it's ready, send it to me." You really think about who these people are. They're the greatest fans in the world, and I'm humbly indebted to them. Well, literally, I owe them Rainbow the Brute and Cyberfrog 3. But I'm indebted to them, and I can't succeed without them and you, John. And so I thank you all for this. You made Comicsgate work, and you make me look great, and in the eyes of
fun. And here you are. You're thanking the fans. You know, I thought, line them up and shoot them. I thought that was the comic book way.
Well, they're not exploiting me, so I don't. They're helping me, so I don't.
But I just find that to be refreshing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm blocked by Eric Larson. I'm the only guy on the planet that has all of his stupid comics. I didn't read them for a couple of years, and then I went back. I was like, oh man, I should have stopped reading these a couple of years ago.
You can't take customers for granted. You can't. Right. Fans, customers, supporters, friends. You can't take them for granted. I mean, that's one thing that I've learned, and I mean it. I mean to keep just doing this, and we're gonna keep making toys, keep making comic books as long as they let me.
Right? I think it's a lot of fun. It's exciting. You said that it's people get excited to be part of successful campaigns. Yeah, I agree. It is kind of fun. It's kind of exciting. But thank you, Ethan. Anything you want to say? I know I talk a lot.
Once again, just thanks to everybody for the support, and please back Cyberfrog 3. That's the current campaign. Be a part of it. You'll see people are getting their Cyberfrog 2 honeycomb boxes on Twitter. I'm going to retweet them all so that you can see them. Really, I mean, even when I see the pictures of what we've done, I'm overwhelmed. Like nothing. There is no comic book legacy project like this ever. I mean, it is unmatched in its quality. Our action figures, unmatched in their quality, except by like Todd McFarlane. Even I think this is better than a lot of Todd McFarlane stuff too. And again, we can't do it without you. So please continue to support us. I ask you, without any. With total humility, it's like, please continue to support us so we can continue to do this and support all these other indie creators too, if you can. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Comics are exciting again. They're fun again. And, I think it's not from the mainstream, and I feel bad for comic book stores. They didn't do anything wrong. Poor guys.
I'm going to get there. I'm going to put their, I'm going to get Cyberfrog in those stores, at least offer it pretty soon.
Oh, wow.
I got to do that. Yeah, no, I got to do it. I can't.
That's great.
Yeah. We're gonna try. If they want to just reject me and stuff, they're allowed to do that. But there's some
that's
people
a personal decision. Yeah. Do you feel that crowdfunding and Indiegogo and Kickstarter and Fund My Comic? Do you think that these are viable solutions for long term success?
Yes. Yeah, I do. As long as they exist, they're going to be viable. People don't mind the model at all. They get grouchy about having to wait too long. That's understandable. But this is changing the way people support the arts. And I think it's around for the long term. At the same
Good.
time, though, if people get enough money together, and I have enough money to do this, I can go ahead and I could print an inexpensive version of Cyberfrog #1. I don't know what the rate is, $5-6 for a comic book right now. I can do a floppy version of this and give it to people to read in the comics. Now that the book is 3-4 years old, I can let the mainstream have it. I think it lasts. I always saw this as like movies. Like there's the red carpet premiere, and then it goes to it stays in the theater, goes to the dollar theaters, then it goes to cable, pay-per-view, basic cable.
Theater, yeah.
Eventually, it ends up on TV for free. And this kind of TV for free is like, to me, I guess it's digital. I don't really know, but the next step would be to put it into comic book stores, so that
that is
people
awesome.
could just
That is good. Yeah,
chance upon it.
that is cool. Oh, great. Well, thank you, Ethan. Thank you for showing up. This was so much fun. I could have talked to you all night long, but I don't want to I try to make a policy of leaving before things get strained, but it wasn't straining. So thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
I'm getting a little fanboy verklempt over here, but thanks a lot. I put links in the description. If there's anything that I'm missing that you want me to add, I'll gladly add. And thanks a lot, guys. Back Ethan, back Comicsgate, back Cyberfrog. And if you can, like and subscribe me. I'm nobody, This is like the biggest thing that ever happened on this silly little channel. Thank you, everybody. And bye-bye.